Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mauro. How are you?
Good afternoon, my friend Christian. I'm okay. What about you?
Yeah, doing great. It's another beautiful afternoon here in Lausanne. How is it in northern Italy? You're just outside Torino, right?
Yeah, I'm close to Torino. Now the weather is good, so happy day.
Nice one. So welcome everybody to another edition of SportWorks Talks in our part of our tech series. And today we're going to learn a little bit about the most beautiful race in the world. And Mauro is going to share with us some of the experience he's had in the timekeeping and the data processing of that event. I want to say thank you for joining us. For those of you who are from different parts around the world, as always with our talks, we're going to give about a 20-minute presentation. Mauro's going to share with us his experience, and then afterwards we're going to have a Q&A. For the Q&A, just pop your answers and questions. We'll do the answers, sorry. We'll pop your questions straight into the chat, and we'll do our best to answer as many of those at the end of the presentation. Or as they come up too, we might drop into some questions. So today, we're going to start off with a short video to give you a little bit of a taste of what now, again, apologies for my poor Italian pronunciation, the Miglia, the 1,000-mile race. So I'll show that video now, and then we can start off and then straight into what Mauro is going to share with us today. Thanks, Mauro. Great to see you.
So I was telling you that we are now trying to describe a little bit this event, the Miglia race. Mille means 1,000, and miles was the distance, 1,000 miles more or less, that this event were covering when it was started the first time in 1927. And this race was running on open roads and was a speed event. So the cars has to rush as fast as possible from Brescia, the starting point, to Rome and back to Brescia again. And the promoter were Francesco Mazzotti and Aimo Maggi. First time, as we say, it was the 1927, and until 1957 it was run. And then, like other competition like Targa Florio, the Carrera Panamericana, this competition made the Grand Tourer cars like Alfa Romeo, BMW, Ferrari, Maserati, Mercedes-Benz, and Porsche famous. And a lot of people were looking at the event on the road. Estimated was 5 million spectators. The competition also from 1953 to 57 was part of the World Sport Car Championships. Then to the dangerous of this course, because some accident happened, also involving attending people. The competition was stopped in this way, and the new Miglia restart on 1977. Now it is a regularity race for classic and vintage car. So in the main race, only cars not produced later than 1957, and also with had attended or registered to the original race, can compete. More or less, the track, the course is the same, but not exactly the same. Now the track course can go through different villages or city, and to show these beautiful events to more and more people every year. As we say, the length of 1,600 kilometers was giving the name to the competition. And Enzo Ferrari, the famous Enzo Ferrari, define this event as the most beautiful race in the world. Here you can see a short table of the most important manufacturer and teams that won or were classified in the first 3 positions in the race in the year, and Alfa Romeo has the lead. The beautiful Alfa Romeo cars are still competing, as you understood, and it is very nice to be there and see these beautiful cars running again on the same roads. You can see here some pictures of the event. These are very historical ones. And going now to the new Mille Miglia. Since it's a regularity competition, there are on the track that is covered in 4 days. This year from the 22nd to the 25th of October. On the track there are more than 200 control points. And this means that on each control point, all the time registered by the cars should be recorded in a very precise way and sent to the control room for immediate processing. To manage the event in the modern time, we are now using 3G and 4G connections and the transponder to identify the cars. My company, Microplus, is providing the data processing and the system, but the service is provided in a joint venture with the Italian Timekeeper Federation, FICR, that put the people on the road, that use the timing equipment on the road to record the time in the correct way. What we do before the race. Before the race, we install on each car a GPS system that will help us to know where the car is during the whole competition. Since these cars are older cars, sometimes they have a battery power connection, sometimes they don't have. So the GPS units are battery powered, and they send the information about the car position every 5 seconds. Moreover, we install on the car transponders. As you can see on the picture on the car, there are transponder and GPS systems. And also using the GPS system, there is a button that the crew can push in case of need for medical or mechanical assistance. As we say, there are 200 control points, and the control points are divided in different kinds. There are time control points where the car should arrive at a certain moment with the precision of 1 minute. So this means they have 1 minute to touch that point and to do not get penalties. Then there are the regularity trials where the car must meet a specified time with the precision of 100 of a second. Then there are average trials where the car must meet the point with a precision of the second. And then there are other simple passage control just to check if the car passes through a specific place. Let's focus on the timing equipment. During the race preparation, a timing equipment is deployed on the road. As you can see in the picture, there are operators in front of the equipment, and there are chronoprinters to record the time. There are pressure switch tubes that detect automatically the passing of the car over the tube. There are manual buttons for backup purposes, and there are tablets to send the information and to deal with the transponder and to interact with the transponder installed on the cars. As we say, the passage control point, as in the second picture, are just the point where the car has to pass through, and there is just a guy putting a stamp over a simple card without any specific technology. So, going to discuss about time control, as we discussed, the competitor has to keep a certain average speed and meet a certain time. the timing is done in minutes because you have 1 minute to be on time. And if you look at the day in the example, for example, in day 1, that could be a start in the very beginning in the morning. Then there are inside the first part a certain number of control with more accurate timing. Then there is another time control, normally before lunchtime. Then after lunch, the car restarts with another time control, and they reach the finish of the day with another time control. And inside this time control, there are what is the very important part of the race, the regularity trials. In the regularity trials, as you can see in the picture, there is a tube on the road, and the car has to pass over the tube. Normally, more regularity trials are interconnected. And as you can see in the example, there is a start, then there is, for example, regularity trial 1, regularity trial 2, and the finish. And the cars must keep and make a specific time between each of these points. For example, they have to do 10 seconds from the start to the first regularity trial point, then 1 minute and a half from the first to the second, and then maybe 2 minutes between the second and the finish. So all these data are given to the competitor on a paper, and they have to follow the indication to make the competition successfully. What we do for the timing. So you can see in the schema there is a car passing over a tube, and there is a timing system with main system and backup system. When the car passes through the tube, the timing device registers the time. We are using a time of the day. So the car passed through this checkpoint at a certain moment, maybe 11, 30 minutes, 25 seconds, and a certain number of hundreds of seconds. The information is sent to the tablet computer that is connected by cable with the timing device. And the tablet computer that also talks with the car, I mean with the transponder installed inside the car, validate the data and send the data to the central servers. For the average trial, where the athlete has more or less the same goal to meet a certain time, but where the control points are hidden, are secrets. So the competitor don't know where they will be checked. So there are people behind the tree, behind the corner, that look at the road, see where the car is passing through, and take the time of the car. In a similar way, the timing system get the information from the timekeepers that push the button when the car passes through, and getting also information from the transponder. The data are sent to the control room, to the central venue management system. As you can see in this picture, on the left side, there is an example of the page of the tablet machine that is receiving the data from the timing devices. There are green lights on the right side that says that this data are sent already to the servers. As you can see, there are two main server farms. One that we use is located in Munchen in Germany, and the other one is located in close to Florence in Tuscany in Italy. We set up this way to avoid that a problem with a specific network can affect the result of the work. So in case of problem with one of the two cloud platforms, the other one is supposed to work, and we are still able to receive the data from the course. You have to consider that with more than 400 cars, with more than 200 control points, and since we record the passing of the first wheels, the last wheel. And also we record the manual time and so on, and the transponder data. The quantity of data managed contemporary is very high.
So I've got a question for you there, Mauro. Sorry,
Yes.
I'm going to pop in here. How did you used to do this? Because looking at the technology now deployed, we've got tablets, we've got transponders, we've got a lot of tech which enables you to track the race in each of the 400 vehicles. How did you do it before you had all the technology?
Yes, this is interesting. Now I have this company and we do this kind of job at this level. But when I started, it was 1986, 85, 86, and I was a normal, let's call normal timekeeper. What we were used to do was to just take a time with a manual watch or a bit more complex stopwatch and write down the time on a paper, give the paper every 5 times to people that were used to use radio system. In Italy, it was there were only a group of people with specific patented that could use radios, and using this radio, the data were transferred by voice to someone else receiving it, and someone there was writing down the time again and putting one little computer, like this, that was able to manage some data with probably 16 kilobyte of memory, if I'm not wrong. 16 kilobyte of RAM memory. The first P60, it was from Olivetti.
I was going to say it was in Olivetti.
Yeah, it was on Olivetti, and the one, it was my first computer. It had only 16 kilobyte of memory.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've seen quite an evolution. That's great. Okay, cool. Sorry, I just had that question. I was curious as to see how it's changed. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll let you carry on. Continue.
Thank you. So, so the data that now are not sent anymore by radio with voice, but are sent through 3G and 4G connections, are stored in these servers. And this is just an example of page where we can look all the car number from where the data are coming in, the time of the kind of data we are receiving, the IMEI of the device, and other information from the transponder to validate the received data. So the operators can look at this and look what is going on and understand if everything is going smoothly or not, if there are problems with the connection, because we have to consider that somewhere, sometime it happened that connection by wireless like 3G, 4G is not perfectly working, so we have to resend the data or use some other way to communicate in case. This is just a more generic schema of how a system for timing and data processing works. So on the left side, there are input data that are timing and additional data. In this case, the additional data, in-field data, are GPS information. The data goes in the data processing unit, where already some other information has been entered, like, for example, the athlete database, the competitor database. And then the process calculate according to the rule the results and send the result in different way to all the possible audiences. It can be printing on paper for local people. It can be what that is most used now, internet publishing in real time. It can be management of some video wall or video board on the course. It can be the printout of the result book at the end. And other users that for Miglia sometimes are not on site, like commentators in real time or TV graphic that is not given in this service. But this is interesting to better understand how a system, a simple data like a timing point result is processed and sent in different way to the people looking at the event. And this is what we are used to do. In this case, we are talking about Miglia, but Microplus is a company that gives this kind of services for a lot of sports. And including football, basketball, volleyball, judo, karate, and so on and so on. Focusing on the control room, so in the data processing, you can see in this picture a typical workstation for Miglia, where there is a guy with 3 monitors looking at the group of time controls. So he can control a car that passes through a certain number of them to check if something happened or if everything is fine, and the data can be validated. We are using a software that is called Regularity that we developed. We're still developing according to the changes in the rules and the changes in the needs. This is another example of the page where we can control the data inside the system. And as we said at the very beginning, we must receive from the organization a full database of the crews with the names, with the name of the car, with the year where the car was built, and with other information about the crews. So when we receive the timing from the timing point, all these data are matched and calculated to generate the needed results that can be result of a specific group of car or the general classification of the event. For example, the managers have in their hand a specific video, a specific computer where they can see what is going on. If a competitor number is green, means that the car had all this route correctly, all this part of the route. So the user can check checkpoint per checkpoint, control point per control point, if everything is fine. And there are also graphs that can clarify if a car had a problem, so it step back, instead of being in a certain ranking, goes back to another ranking. That means maybe he had a problem with a wheel, or maybe there is something bad in the management of the competition. So with these tools, it is possible for the people at the control room see where the cars are, like you can see in this picture, where all the cars are visible on a map, and the course control can see what is going on, if there is someone that is taking a wrong road for any reason, and everything is still under control. There are interfaces for the people inside the race so that they have full information, and there is also a specific interface for the audience, for the public, that can also see where the cars are, what is going on, without the unnecessary details that are reserved for the people internal to the race. To manage all this data related with GPS, there are other servers in order to totally separate the management of the event from the management of the timing and the results. This is an example of the result website where the data are published in real time, where the user can choose a specific control point and see what is going on. And this is an example of result where there are the data of the crew, the car, and the final result. This competition has special rules. There are penalties. Then the penalties are multiplied by a certain table that make at the end a final point, a final value that is the value based on which the ranking is calculated. Then there are also a coefficient. That means that cars that are more difficult to be driven or older car has some advantages compared with modern cars. Let's call modern, because all the cars are old, but there are older than other. And using these coefficients, the car with different technical characteristics can be compared. So a car that is very difficult to be driven can be put in competition with a car that is very easy to drive or more easier to drive. At the end, also PDF or paper results are published, and results are given to the organizer and to the audience. So, in a nutshell, this is a complex event, very complex event with a lot of cars, a lot of checkpoints, a lot of people working on the road. Because can you imagine, to cover 200 checkpoints, how many people should be on the road with the needed equipment and everything else that should be put in place to manage the event. And let me just say that as Microplus, what we are always trying to do is to talk with the customer, make proposal, give services, trying every time to improve the service level, compared with what is available now, trying to think forward and give something better. I think this is what, in my opinion, was important to tell you. And I'm for sure open to listen to your question and try to clarify the key point of this service.
Excellent. Great presentation. Great little peek behind the curtain of what's involved with timing and data processing and timing scoring for motor racing, and an insight into also, I think, what we do in the timing and scoring world for all different types of sports. And I think you've really been able to shine a little light on how complex it is. 400 vehicles. One question I had was, you mentioned the team that was deployed. How many timekeepers? Because you mentioned you had like around 200 timing points around the course, so that's quite a team. How does that work?
Yeah, clear. The 200 timing points are in total for 4 days. But the first day, for example, is very short. There are just few points. And the last day also is not so long. So this means that in the 2 central days, there are around 70, 80 control points. Yep. And this means that on each of them, normally there are 2 people. Or sometimes also 3 people working on. Since Microplus is mostly a system integrator, a software developer company, also we do timing, but normally we try to involve specific structures that are used to do timing with their people. So in this case, the work on the road is managed by the Italian Timekeeper Federation, as I mentioned. So we are giving them our software solution, our hardware when it's needed, and they do the job on the road. That is an hard job.
Not an easy job at all.
Yeah, it's not easy at all. And because what I didn't mention is that 400 cars start in 3 per minute. So let's imagine you have a car every 20 seconds. That seems a long time, but it's not. Even because you know our race of this this type of runs, the competitor are trying to keep the time. Theoretically, they should be 20 seconds between each other, but in reality, it's not, because there are good competitors, less good competitor, and worse competitors. And many times you can find maybe 10 cars, one after the other, running all together and passing all together on the control point. That makes the job very difficult, to be honest.
I mean, when you think about it and you do the multiplication, because you mentioned there's the different categories, different race types. How many? Because you mentioned there's 400 cars just in the Miglia. There's other events running in parallel to this as well, isn't there?
Yeah, there are also other 2 events. One is called Ferrari, and that is called Maserati. Oh, sorry, Mercedes, where there are other cars from this specific 2 manufacturer. But these other cars are modern cars. So at the end, there are more or less 50 or 100 cars for each of these events. So the total number of cars can reach up to 600.
Wow.
So it's a very long queue of car. Yeah.
But what a spectacle is it as they run through the Italian countryside, seeing these beautiful Italian sports cars. Interesting note here, you mentioned Alfa Romeo. Now, Alfa Romeo is still based in Turin, I believe. So nice to see them topping the table there on this race. A nice Italian brand.
Yeah, yeah.
Got a great question here. It's from Andre. Hello, how can I join your team to help someone somehow for the next Miglia race?
Okay. From where is this gentleman?
I'm not sure of it. You have to, to let us know where you are, Andre. It'd be good to know.
To be honest, this is one of the events we do, but it's not the only one. So we really are used to work worldwide. So if someone is happy to work in this kind of events and not only motorsport, we are very happy to receive an email from you. You can find our contact on our website, microplustiming.com or microplus.it, and we will put you in our list of technicians. We will do something together, hopefully.
Yeah, and I would add on that it is a great way to experience the race for those who are technically minded, and perhaps there are people that do work in technology in different fields. I can speak from my own experience, drawing on that technical ability, and I guess it's a lot about integration. We're talking about IT systems. We're talking about networks. We're talking about interconnection with GPS and so on and so forth. So if you do have a technical bent and do have an interest in technology, this is a great way to, I would say, see the world and also see some amazing sports events. It's something that I'm very, very fortunate, very grateful for, and likewise you too, Mauro, right?
Yeah, no, we really need the people from with different backgrounds. Since we really develop the system we are using. Normally we try, when it's possible, to develop it internally and to do not buy too much technology outside. We buy the key parts and we put everything together with our software solution and integrations.
Because you mentioned there, and it's a great question, Andre, so let us know. You would have seen on the last slide all the contact details that Mauro's also given, so I'm sure you can reach out to him and let him know. He'll let you know how to connect with the Miglia. You mentioned also you went from 16 kilobits on an Olivetti machine, and now we're looking at tablets and all manner of servers and interconnectivity. In terms of the volumes of data, timing data is relatively small amounts, but do you see the demand growing? And is it the end of the line that people are asking for more information based on your experience?
From our specific point of view, we have to collect the data from the field. In this case, is a road. It can be laser measurement in athletics, or a statistics in basketball. Mm-hmm. And then what changed so much is the way we have to show the data. Yeah. At the very beginning, what it was important is to know who was the winner. That's it. Yep. And then, people start interesting to know exactly how much was the difference, where is the statistic about this rebound or whatever. So for sure, the demand increased. And this is why we are now focusing for other sports on video analysis. For example, in football, we are using a system that you will know, but maybe someone else doesn't, to detect automatically from a video image the position of the player on the field. Yeah. And we are using this also for tennis, to know where the ball touched the ground, where the athlete is when the ball touched the ground, which is the distance between him and the ball. And so in order to make evaluation, plan better training. And I think this is the future, working on images and use images to get more and more information about each event, about each sport. And this is what we are trying to do. It is not easy, but we are working on it.
Well, it's the complexity of the events. I think you've highlighted here, 4 days, 400 to 600 vehicles, 200 time points, 300 potentially up to 300 timekeepers. it's a complex business, and then getting that data out in real time so that people can follow it, because not everybody, although you did mention an interesting statistic about 5 million people viewing the race back in the early days, and I dare say you probably got that easily online nowadays in terms of following the sport. So whether it be motor racing like the Miglia or in other sports, the demand is certainly increasing. But as you and I know, it's good fun, and we like finding ways to solve some of these problems. It was interesting, you mentioned about tennis. I read an interesting article, and I think given the current situation with what's going on globally, the reference to the US Open now using line calling systems, electronic calling systems for all of their courts, for all of their competitions, so as to reduce the number of people on the field of play. They've reduced the ball boy numbers and girls as well. So I think there's opportunities, and I think this is again something for perhaps some of the viewers, understanding how technology can be implemented to solve some of these problems. I don't know how you feel about that. It's certainly, I use line calling as a good example. We're in a space where we can use electronic systems. Maybe there'll be more call for it.
No, this is very interesting. There are systems that are very expensive, like the line calling system that also is a patented system. Now it has been bought from Sony, if I'm not wrong. It was originally developed by another company. But probably a system at this level of complexity can never be on every court. But, for example, we are working on a system as a low-cost system that can be installed in normal courts in let's say in your place, in my place, and in my club. And with this, we can record the match between me and you. We can review the match, make some comment, publish it on the web, on the social, and so on and so on. So, what we are really experiencing is that it is possible to create low-cost system with good quality to give something to the people, not only for top-level events like Miglia can be, like the US Open can be, like Wimbledon can be. So this is another brand. Since we are a commercial company, we have to focus on business. We like sport. We start doing sport and doing this kind of job for fun. It was not a job at the very beginning. Now become a job, and now we like to try to make something better for everybody. So,
and I think that's important, that technology can get down to grassroots sports, and to service. It's not just, as you say, elite level sport. It is being able to have available technology. We've had some really interesting talks on SportWorks Talks about how to engage, the federations can engage with their consumers or the participants or the members of their local organizations, and technology is a great enabler in part of that engagement. I think we've seen some great examples of how FIBA did that with 3-3. So it's great to hear that you're looking at not only just solving top elite level problems, but also the people like me who like to try and bash a ball around.
It is nice. It is nice. There are a lot of possibilities.
Absolutely. Well, look, I just want to say thank you so much for a really enlightful conversation today. You've given a great presentation. Great to learn more about the Miglia. And I know we've spoken about it because I think we've been on different projects at different times when I know you've been busy monitoring and making sure the Miglia is happening. I remember I think a couple of years ago. So great to learn more about it. Thank you so much for coming on SportWorks Talks today to share it with our audience.
My pleasure, really my pleasure. I will remain available for you and for our audience for future events where it can be interesting to have a talk.
Great stuff. Okay, well, everybody, thank you so much for joining this afternoon. I hope you've enjoyed it just as much as I have for our tech series at SportWorks Talks. This will be going out again as a replay, so you'll be able to watch it again or pick up some of the information that Mauro shared via the sportworker.com platform. But in the meantime, I wish you all a very great afternoon and wish you all the best, and stay safe, and bye for now. See you, Mauro.
Ciao, bye.